Well, it's been a week since our last video, and if you're real observant, you notice I got the same stocking hat, same sweatshirt on, but I want you to know that I have changed my clothes a few times between now and then. We almost Easter, tomorrow's Easter, and we look forward to celebrating that. I want to share something with you today that I feel like has kind of been on my mind all week, and that is about being an overcomer. Um, After the first video, a friend of mine messaged me and he said, "Hey Kev," he said, "what's the difference between overcoming something like paralysis or cancer or whatever it is in your life that you're having trouble dealing with, or and learning to live with it?" And at first wasn't quite sure how to answer, and I thought for a minute, oh, I'm going to look up the definition of overcome. And when I did, I was pretty surprised. I mean, you see that it says to overcome something is to defeat it or to prevail against it. And maybe it's my athletic background or whatever, but whenever I think of overcoming something, I think of defeating it like you would, beat another team. If you think about overcoming paralysis like I do, the first thing that pops into my mind would be, to no longer be paralyzed. If somebody had cancer, to overcome it would mean, maybe that they don't have cancer anymore. Um, but I was actually surprised there was more to the definition than just to defeat or prevail. And one of the things that it says was to overcome was to succeed in dealing with. And another one of the definitions says to get the better of. So with that in mind, I want you to think about something with me today, and that is that sometimes overcoming something doesn't necessarily mean that we remove it from our lives in such a way that we are, victorious over it to where, we can say that's no longer a part of my life. That's gone. I don't have to deal with that anymore. Sometimes to overcome something means that we find a way to succeed in dealing with it. And so when I talk about learning to live with an unwanted circumstance, that's kind of the same as overcoming as well. You don't always have to defeat something that's plaguing you in your life, but we do all the time have to find ways to successfully deal with those obstacles in our lives that we wish that we could change, that we cannot. So I want to put that thought in your mind today, that sometimes overcoming is just finding a way to successfully deal with whatever problem might be in your life. And as I leave you with that thought, I also want you to think about the words Jesus said before he went to the cross. In John 16:33, he says, "I've told you all these things." He was talking to the disciples. He said, "I've told you everything I wanted you to know because I want you to find peace in me." He said, "In the world you will have tribulations, you'll have trials and troubles." He said, "But be of good cheer." He said, "Take heart. Don't give up." And why did he say for us to not give up? Well, because he said he has overcome the world. And so he defeated, things in the world that we deal with. He defeated death on Easter weekend. He was buried after he was crucified. 3 days later, he rose from the grave. So he overcame the world in a way that was just incredible. And because of that, we have a lot of hope and know that even if we die or when we die, that we can overcome that too. But also he gave us a lot of hope in that he told us that in this world we would have trials and tribulations, but that we should look to him as a source of strength and encouragement because he's the author and finisher of our faith. And when we run our race, we are to run it like he did. And when I look at him, he was that ultimate overcomer. He knew there was meaning and purpose in the midst of his suffering and even in his death. And for us, it's the same. If we put our faith and trust in him, follow him, we know that we can have meaning and purpose in our lives no matter what the circumstance. So God bless you guys. Have a happy Easter.